Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Floowandereeze test hands. So I'm really excited to show you guys this deck, because this deck is an absolute beast of a deck. I love the way that it plays. It's a really amazing deck, and it's one of the best decks of the entire format. I think this deck is going to shape up to be at least in the top 3 best decks of the entire format, and it is absolutely crazy. It's needless to say that this deck is already tier 1 right out of the gate, which is really amazing, and it's so simple, it's insane. So anyways guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, and even getting to request the deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So this deck is a really interesting deck that revolves around normal summoning and tribute summoning, so it actually takes me back to the original days of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is really cool. Because basically you're playing the deck exactly how the old school days were, except you're getting a bunch of normal summons, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the way that For Hire plays, which is kind of neat. This deck can do some really insane stuff, like summoning out a copy of Impin and a copy of the Barrier statue to your side of the field, which is one of the main plays that you can actually do. It has insane one-card combos, and it's very consistent because you play like 6 different pot cards, which is just really insane. From Extravagance to Duality is just really nice. So we're gonna go ahead and pile shuffle the deck, and once we do that, we're going to go ahead and see what we can do for the very first test hand. We're going to shuffle up the deck really quick and see what we can pull off, because this deck just goes in for some absolutely crazy stuff. So let's go ahead and draw. We're going to go ahead and draw a copy of Book of Moon, which is really good because we can actually flip our opponent's monsters face down. A copy of Rabina. This card is literally the 1-card combo of the deck. This entire deck revolves around having a Rabina, which is really amazing. So we're then going to draw to a copy of Pot of Duality, a copy of the Toucan, and a copy of D-Shifter. The really neat thing about D-Shifter in this deck is this deck benefits so much off of every card being banished, and it hurts so many decks in the format, from Drytron, Tri-Brigade. All the rogue decks right now are getting hurt by this card. The only thing that this card actually benefits is playing as like Grand Majin Daiza, which is kind of a weird matchup to see, but it's really amazing because this card just basically shuts down everything. So right off the bat, you're going to drop that card, and everything is going to be banished. Now that's really cool because if you're going first, if you're going second, you can drop this, and usually when you drop the copy of D-Shifter, your opponent's turn ends. So now that we've done that, well, you can actually go full combo with the deck. If you want to search for a little bit of protection, you can Duality. Let's just take a look what we're going to get if we do, and you're actually going to hit these 3 in your hand, which it doesn't super matter which one you grab. Basically, you can grab the copy of the Stria if you want to grab that card, because we're going to add the other ones from deck to hand anyway, so it's not even that big of a deal. So we're going to add this card to our hand, and then now that we've done that, let's go full combo and show you guys how you can completely shut down your opponent's field. So we're going to normal summon out that copy of Rabina, and once you summon out the copy of Rabina, Rabina has the ability to actually let you add a Winged Beast monster that's level 4 or lower from your deck to your hand. So once we're going to add a copy of Eglin from our deck to our hand, or Eglin, excuse me, from our deck to our hand, and once we add the Eglin from deck to hand, you're then going to normal summon out that copy of the Eglin. Eglin then will then let you search the deck for a level 7 or higher Winged Beast monster, which we're going to search Impin. Impin is literally the most crazy card in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, because it is a walking skill drain, and your opponent has to get something that's 5,400 attack points or larger to actually deal with this card by battling it straight up, which is kind of neat. So at this point, you're going to get to normal summon an additional time, and you can normal summon out the copy of the Stria to get cards out of the graveyard if you want to, because the copy of the Duality will actually be banished, because this card has the ability, if there's no cards in the graveyard, quick effect, send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, or hand to the graveyard until the end of the next turn. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So we're actually going to put a dice over it so we remember that everything is banished. And then you can normal summon this card out to your side of the field, which has the ability to be able to, if this card is normal summoned, you can target one card in either player's graveyard, and immediately this card resolves, banish it. So you can actually banish this card from the graveyard, which is kind of neat. And once we do that, you can then normal summon out the copy of the Impin, because now that you can normal summon out the copy of Impin, you're going to want to tribute off your copy of, say, like the copy of the Rabina and the Eglin to get it on your side of the field. Now, when this card is tribute summoned to your side of the field, this is an insane thing about this deck, and what makes the deck so consistent. Your cards get banished when they leave the field. All of your copies of your Floowandereeze, they banish themselves when they leave the field, regardless if you have D-Shifter or not. Now, the really neat thing about this is when you tribute summon out the copy of Impin, these will actually chain and go back to your hand, because you can add them back to your hand once per turn. You can only use each effect of them once per turn to be able to normal summon them, get a search each, and then when they leave the field for the copy of Impin, you get to add them back so you can do it all over again next turn. Now, the neat thing about Impin is if this card is tribute summoned, you can add any Floowandereeze spell or trap you want from your deck to your hand. Now, I like to grab from my deck to my hand a copy of the Dreaming Town. Dreaming Town is insanely good, and I will show you guys this right off the bat. Look at my hand and look at my field. I started with 5, I've already gone +2. So now that we've grabbed the copy of Dreaming Town, let's go over what our boss monster actually does, since it's still a relatively new card. So what this card does is if it's tribute summoned, you get to add a Floowandereeze spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and immediately this card resolves, you can normal summon another monster. And when when this tribute summon card is in the monster zone, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special summon monsters they control in attack position. And then once per turn during damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand, and that opponent's monster's current attack and defense become halved. So this card has 27, so 27 times 2 is 54. 7 and 7 is 14, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 14 is 52. So that's really neat that you actually have the ability to summon out this really big card, and we still have a normal summon that we can do. You can summon out the copy of the Toucan, and the Toucan has a neat effect that if this card is normal summon, you can target one of your banished Floowandereeze cards and add it back to your hand. But since we don't, you don't have to normal summon, because I don't want to normal summon out my copy of my Eaglin or my Rabina again, because I already had the setup that I want. So now at this point, you can set on your side of the field both of these extremely powerful spell and trap cards and pass against the opponent. Now, once they summon a monster to their side of the field, if they have anything that's problematic against us that is in defense position, you can just flip it face down with the Book of Moon. Now, the other neat thing about this particular hand is that you have the copy of the Floowandereeze Dreaming Town. So this is where you actually shut your opponent down completely for their entire turn, especially when you have the Book of Moon comboed with this setup. So what we're going to do is our opponent's only going to get one normal summon as normal. So we're going to activate the copy of the Dreaming Town. Now, Dreaming Town is neat and a key combo piece in the cards you're always going to want to search off of Impin if you're going first, because it has the ability that during the main phase, not a main phase, but the main phase, so it's either main phase, you can actually search the deck, or immediately as this card resolves, you get to normal summon a monster. So we're going to normal summon the copy of Rabina, because we got the Rabina back. Once Rabina is actually normal summoned, you can then use the copy of Dreaming Town to search another level 4 or lower winged beast. So we're going to grab the barrier statue. Now that we grab the barrier statue, we're going to shuffle up the deck, and then once we shuffle up the deck, we're going to actually normal summon out that copy of the barrier statue because the Rabina searched it. You can go a little bit further if you want to and summon out the copy of the Eaglin, if you want to summon out the copy of the Eaglin first, and then once you summon out the copy of the Eaglin to your side of the field, you can then use the effect to actually search out a different monster, like a copy of the Impin, so you can have double Impin for your opponent to have to deal with, because the Impin will actually loop off of one another, which is kind of neat. So you can tribute both of these monsters to summon out the copy of the Impin. These will both banish, then they will both activate and grab back to the hand, chaining to the copy of Impin, which actually will block the Impin, so your opponent can't even chain to it, which is kind of neat. Then you get a search of another card, you're going to get the copy of the map, and then now your copy of your card will go off, or you can get the copy of the Unexpected Winds, which lets you basically tribute your opponent's monsters for the normal summon of a monster, which is kind of neat. So it kind of depends on what you want. If you want consistency, you grab this. If you want a little bit more versatility to get rid of an opponent's monster, you can actually use the Unexpected Winds. So now that we've done that, the copy of the Impin will let us normal summon out the barrier statue, and at this point, your opponent's pretty much going to scoop. If they let it go to this point, there's not a whole lot they can do. This is pretty much the ideal field setup, is double Impin with a copy of the Stormwinds on your side of the field, so they're negating every single monster that's special summoned in attack position. You have the Stormwinds that's basically making it so they can't special summon, and you have the Book of Moon to flip their monster face down, and you have your copy of D-Shifter banishing everything. This is why this deck is probably going to be tier 0, in my opinion. I think depending on what the next list is, we're getting a search card for this deck, which is going to make it even easier to get to a copy of Rabina, and it's just going to basically make this deck absolutely crazy because you have so much versatility in what this deck can do. And you don't even need the extra deck. You can play 15 random cards just to feed your copy of Extravagance, which makes the deck a really budget option for any player, which is going to help the representation of this deck in events, which is going to help out a lot because the most expensive card right now is the Impen. Everything else is like $5 outside of the copy of Impen before the release of Battles of Chaos, which is kind of neat. So you're going to flip that opponent's monster face down, and at this point, they probably are going to pass. We're going to draw for turn. We're going to draw into a duality. We don't even need to normal summon this turn. We can just activate the duality. Look at the top 3 of our deck, which is a D-Shifter, Extravagance, and a copy of the Winds, which I'm going to grab the copy of the Winds, and we're going to shuffle up the deck. Or even, wait a minute, if you grab the D-Shifter, we actually don't have anything in graveyard, so we can actually use the D-Shifter all over again. So you can actually shuffle the deck up now, and then once you shuffle up the deck, this will actually chain. You can actually just send this to grave, which is not going to be that big of a deal because everything is now going back to grave, and you have the D-Shifter set up that you can get your copy of Stria back in the graveyard if you want to by just normal summoning the copy of Impen, or not Impen, but Eaglin to your side of the field. And then the Eaglin will actually search a copy of Ryza, and then you can shuffle up the deck and then basically normal summon the Ryza with both of these. And then this will actually be banished. And then when you normal summon a monster, it grabs them right back to hand, which is really cool. And then you have the copy of Ryza that now you can basically OTK your opponent. And if you don't know what this card does, this card actually is insane too, because the tribute summon of this card can be used to tribute summon one tribute summon monster. And if this card is tribute summon, you can target one card on the field and one card in either player's graveyard. And also, if you tribute summon this card by tributing a wind monster, you can target an additional target on the field and place the first target on the bottom of the deck in any order and return the original target to the hand. So I can actually target a card in the graveyard, which is really neat because it has the ability to, if this card is tribute summoned, you get to target a card in either player's graveyard and add that target back to the hand. And then I can also bounce something, which is kind of cool. So I just basically set it up again so I can discard the D-Shifter all over again and basically lock my opponent out of graveyard all over again. And that's a very simple setup. And then you just OTK it with this setup that you already have, because this is 57 or 54 right here. And then you have the 1000, which is 6000. And then this is like over 9000 right here. So that's a really good setup just with the first test hand, just to show you guys how insane this deck actually functions. And it's a really consistent deck. Like, you run into those kind of hands every single game. Because you're playing the Extravagance to dig into the deck, you're playing the copies of your Pot of Duality to dig deeper into the deck, you're playing your copies of Rabina that are just going to be easily searchable in the deck with all sorts of different cards, and it's just an overall insane deck. Like, I love the way that it plays, I love the artwork. There is not a thing about this deck that I don't like, because it's just that good. So, we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and let's see what we can do. Cut the deck really quick and see what we can pull off. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Book of Moon, Dreaming Town, Eagland, the copy of the map, and a copy of D-Shifter. So this is already not bad. You might be looking at this hand being like, oh, you don't have Rabina. Well, what are you going to do? Well, that's fine. I don't have to have Rabina because you can use this. You can actually just ditch the D-Shifter right here and then activate the copy of the map. And the map is really good. The map is really good because what this card does is during your main phase, you can reveal any level 1 Floowandereeze in your hand and then banish a Floowandereeze with a different name from your deck. And immediately this card resolves, you normal summon the revealed monster. And if your opponent normal summons a monster, immediately this card resolves, I get to normal summon as well. So I can just activate this, reveal the copy of the Eaglin in my hand, and then grab from deck a copy of the Rabina, and then this will actually normal summon, this will be banished. I will normal summon out the copy of the Eaglin to my side of the field. The Eaglin will go off and be actually to search my copy of Impen to hand. And then the copy of, like, I've already got this insane setup, but since this card is banished, it has the ability that if this card, or excuse me, if this card is on the field, it's banished, banish it, or if this card's on the field, leaves the field, banish it instead. And it also has the ability that if a winged beast monster is normal summoned to your field, this card's banished, you add it back to your hand. So I can just add this card back, then normal summon out the copy of the Rabina, Rabina, and then you go full combo again, where you've already got set up. So that's why Map or Rabina sets you up, plus in any level 1, you're already set up, because this will normal summon, this will add back to hand. It'll actually resolve like this. You'll normal summon out the copy of Impin off of this, and then this will add back to hand, and then you'll search off the copy of the Impin, and then, or search the copy of Impin off the Eaglin, and then the Eaglin will let you normal summon, and then the copy of the Rabina will let you search as well, which the Rabina will let you search your copy of your barrier statue, and then you can normal summon out the copy of the Impin to your side of the field to get another search, which can be your copy of the other card that you play, because you're just going to banish both of those all over again, and the copy of the Eaglin's going to come right back. So you have all these really good plays. So now that you search your copy of, or summon your copy of Impin, Impin will let you search from the deck any spell or trap that you want, which you've already got the other two. So why not get Unexpected Wins? So now we've got Unexpected Wins, we've got Impin, we've got an additional normal summon, which is going to be this, and we have this set up all over again with the Book of Moon. So when our opponent normal summons, we're already set up. So when our opponent goes, you can reveal the Book of Moon. They can't, the first normal summon that they get out of the gate is going to be flip face down, and you have the Dreaming Town to be able to normal summon out your copy of your Eaglin, grab this back to hand, and then after you do that, your copy of your Book of Moon will be banished, the copy of the Eaglin will go to the field, the copy of the Eaglin will actually search again from the deck, which you can actually grab the Apex Avian this time if you want to give yourself a little bit of protection, which is really cool. You'll get an additional normal summon with the copy of the Rabina. Rabina will go off and you'll search another Floowandereeze, which can be your copy of your Stria, which can banish a card from your graveyard. You'll search her and then normal summon out that card, use its effect, banish the copy of your D-Shifter. And then once you use the copy of the Stria, you can tribute off both of these monsters and then normal summon out your copy of your Apex Avian. So now you're completely set up because now you have a negate. You have this card making it so any monster is special summon is negated, and you can't special summon as well. And you have this card on the field as just extra. And you've got a search as well. That's really good. Like, you search this. So if I tribute summon next turn, I can tribute summon the monster that I set, which is hilarious. So now at this point, I draw into an Extrav. I just use this. This is the only time I'm probably going to touch this extra deck in the entire video, because you don't need it at all. It doesn't even matter what I hit. As long as I have an Elder Entity Nist in the extra deck, which I still have one, it doesn't matter. So this is actually going to be banished. The D-Shifter is turned off now because it's now my turn again. This is going to go to the graveyard. I'm drawing 2, and I draw into exactly what I need, because now I can normal summon out this card to my side of the field, and both of these add back to hand, which I don't even need to search anything. I'm just going to banish this from the graveyard and then go in for the OTK, because your opponent's not going to have any plays. They're not going to have anything that they can back it up with, because they couldn't have special summoned. You have a walking negate, and they can't use any of their monsters in attack position, so I can protect from something like Lightning Storm. I can use this to make it so all their monsters like Anaconda, or not Anaconda, but Dragoons are going to defense position. I can use this to be able to make it so they can't even special summon the Anaconda for the Phoenix Enforcer or the copy of the Dragoons, and you're pretty much set. Like, this, the only deck that can challenge this, in my opinion, right now, really challenge this deck if it gets established, is Monarchs. Monarchs and a mirror match is the most hilarious thing I've ever done with this deck, because you never know who's actually going to win, because they can actually go back and forth against one another, which is hilarious. So this deck is like Monarchs 2.0, but with cute birds, which is really fun. I really love this deck. It is such a fun deck to play around with. So let's go ahead and shuffle it up and do one more and see if we can consistently do that combo with Rabina, getting Impin, getting Barrier Statue one more time. Let's see if we can pull it off one last time, just to show you guys how good this deck is. And while we're doing this and shuffling up the deck, definitely give the video a like, and I'm glad to show you guys how this deck actually plays, because it's just that good. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next test hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up, and we're going to draw. We're going to draw into a copy of Dogmatic Punishment, which is pretty good. We actually do touch the extra deck with this. Rabina, right there, we're already set up. A copy of the map and a copy of Call by the Grave. This didn't even have to be Rabina because we had the map. And then we're going to draw into a copy of Book of Moon. We're already completely set up. So at this point, you have protection. This is probably the most nuts hand we've actually drawn. So you can do this. You can do a really simple play. You can use this, activate the copy of map. Map will actually reveal the copy of Rabina. Then once you reveal the copy of Rabina, you can banish the copy of the Eaglin. Eaglin will banish, and then you normal summon out the copy of the Rabina. The copy of the Eaglin will chain and add back to hand. Rabina will go off and let you add from deck to hand your copy of the barrier statue. Now that you've added the barrier statue, we're going to shuffle up the deck and we get an additional normal summon. We're going to grab out that copy of the Eaglin to our side of the field. Now we're going to search out a copy of Impin. We're going to shuffle up the deck again. Once we shuffle up the deck again, we're then going to tribute both of these. They will both banish, summon out the copy of the Impin, and then now we can actually grab back the copy of the Eaglin, not the Rabina, but the copy of Eaglin, but it doesn't matter because we're already set up. You can drop the copy of Called by the Grave if your opponent ashes you at any point. Use the copy of the Impin on your side of the field to give you an additional search of a spell or trap, which is going to be the copy of the Dreaming Town, which Dreaming Town is a must, at least one of in the deck. If you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description down below as well. And we're going to go ahead and use that copy of the Impin to be able to normal summon out our copy of the barrier statue, because once you search that spell or trap, you get to me those card resolves, normal summon one monster, which is really good. It doesn't matter what you normal summon, it can be anything, which is what's really insane. So now that we normal summon that card out to our side of the field, you can basically set all three of your back row, which is the Dogmatic Punishment, the copy of the Book of Moon, and the copy of Dreaming Town, and then pass against the opponent. Now, once they do, you've already got them set up. You've got them locked down. They can't do much. You can go ahead and activate the copy of either the Book of Moon or the copy of Dogmatic Punishment. What I usually like to do is use this to pop a monster and use this to set their normal summon. So, or you can do it in vice versa, where you keep this set just to be set up for another turn and clear your way for an OTK. So you can actually use this if they set a spell or trap. You can actually do something really neat. Send this and then pop a card on their side of the field. Then the copy of Nist will pop an additional card if you want to, which is really cool. Or you can do something really neat, which is send the copy of Omega, which you guys might be looking at it. Wait a minute, sending Omega has a neat effect that once per turn, during your opponent's standby phase, you can target one of your banished cards and return to the graveyard. And if this card is in the grave, you can target one other card in the grave, shuffle both that card and this card back into the deck, which clears the way for a D-shifter, which is really funny. So this card will actually go to graveyard. It clears the way a little bit. You'll still have the copy of the Dogmatic Punishment, which is totally fine. If you just had the Dogmatic Punishment, it would work, but you still have all the other plays that you can go into. You can use the copy of Dreaming Town, which will let us normal summon out the copy of the Eaglin. And then now you can actually summon out the copy of the, let's see, we can actually grab the copy of our Apex Avian, or you can grab a copy of Rabina. You can actually do it a little bit of a long way and actually grab Rabina, normal summon the Rabina will search Stria, normal summon the Stria, and then now you can use the Stria effect to be able to banish the copy of the Dogmatic Punishment. And then now your opponent passes back to you. This will go to the graveyard. We draw for turn, and then you can use the copy of the Omega to be able to put this back and be able to actually grab something back, which is pretty cool because this has the ability that if this card's in the graveyard, you can target one other card in the graveyard, shuffle both that card and this card back from the graveyard in the deck, so we can actually recycle cards that are one-ofs, like Called by the Grave. So it's like I have two all over again. So we're going to shuffle this back into the deck. And now that we did, we drew into Ryza, so you can tribute both of these monsters on our side of the field. Summon out that copy of Ryza. Ryza will go off, and all of these will actually chain, grabbing you 1, 2, and 3 of your birds back. And then now you can use the copy of Ryza's effect to be able to bounce something, which is really cool because it has the ability that if this card is tribute summon, you could target one card on the field and one card in either player's graveyard. And then if you do, you can target an additional target on the field and top, put the first target on top of the deck in any order, and also return the other target to the hand if any, which is pretty cool because it bounces a card back on the top of the deck, so your opponent is going to get a little bit of card advantage where they're going to like draw into the card that they had on the field, which is like a -1, and I get to add my copy of Dreaming Town back to hand, and so I bounced a card, so now that I can OTK my opponent, and this card will go back to hand, and I have the copy of Book of Moon still set, so when they normal summon next turn, I can go in again. You don't even have to really stop here because you can still keep going if you want to, because you can actually use the effect of your map to reveal another monster in hand, like the copy of your Eaglin, and then normal summon it out and go in for a real OTK because you have all of these monsters on the field with all this potential for OTK, which is really cool. Just with these three, you're sitting at 6,100, which is pretty cool. Or, yeah, 6,100 with these three. And then this goes up to 7,000 1,100. So all you need is 900 more damage on board and you OTK your opponent, which is really cool. And it's still pretty easy to do depending on what you have, because you can normal summon out another monster to your side of the field. So I think that's going to do it for the test hands of this deck. This deck is insane. I see when we get the support card what it's going to be, but I definitely think this deck is going to be at least tier 1 for at least a year or more until they have to do something about this deck on the list, because this deck is just insane. I love what this deck plays like. I love what it does. It makes me feel like I'm playing old school Yu-Gi-Oh, which is what's really cool, because you don't even have to touch the extra deck like original dual monsters, which is really neat. But it's like dual monsters but like faster. It's like Monarchs 2.0. I love the deck. I love the art. I love the way the deck plays. It's just everything I like in a deck, and it's super fun. Like, and it's budget too, because like the majority of the cards in the deck, like you can pick up the deck for like maybe $100. Like, it's not even that bad, and that's with the hand traps and everything, which is just really insane. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notification squad, and definitely check out the deck profile down in the description down below and the Patreon down there. And tell me what you guys think of this deck. I love it. I think it's really fun. I just really like this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Floowandereeze Tier 0. See you later, guys.